So, tomorrow, City Council will hold a special session to discuss ordinances related to data centers. But I really wanted to talk about how the controversy surrounding the proposed data center in New Orleans East really mirrors battles that are playing out nationwide. Northern Virginia, homeowners that live near a large data center campus complained about constant noise and diesel generators and declining quality of life, and it prompted some zoning political backlash, really, and zoning changes. In Tucson, Arizona, even residents and city leaders, they unanimously rejected a massive Amazon-linked data center, citing its proximity to neighborhoods, heavy energy demands, and the minimal job creation. So remember that I've said that minimal job creation. In each of these cases, communities said the same thing, that residents in New Orleans East are saying right now that they weren't opposed to development. We need data centers. We do. It's a fact. We do need data centers. But we are questioning why large scale industrial projects keep landing near residential neighborhoods, often without early community input. Now, for New Orleans East, opponents argue that this debate is not just about one project, it's about land use, it's about equity, it's about whether history is repeating itself. So, what do I mean by that? There are some historic zoning changes and decisions that have been made for residents of underrepresented communities. So think of your Gordon Plazas, think of your Cancer Alleys, communities where power plants and chemical facilities are built directly across the street from people's homes. There have been cases of zones being changed to residential and industrial. So some of our viewers say once that industrial zoning is approved, the future of their community is decided for them and not with them, and they want to be a part of that economic development. So I wanted to ask Dr. Eric Anthony Johnson, who worked alongside me for the Follow the Line project, to give his take on the matter. Take a listen to what he had to say on this.
Yeah, at its core, data centers are really the brains of the internet, right? That's where the storage of all of the servers and everything, you're checking your banking account, going online, whatever, they're flowing through the data centers. So um, you're correct. Across the country, there are major push there. There is a big push to establish data centers. One, to power what they call the new economy. Two, they are massive users of power. You know, usually a strain on the grid, water, because they have to always stay cool. So when you think about data centers and you look at it across the country, um, most of them are massive facilities, which requires uh, a lot of power to push these things. So people are looking at it like, wait a minute, they're not big job generators. On average, they generate between 30 to 50 jobs, maybe some construction jobs in the beginning. So the issue is more about location, in particular in underserved communities. Imagine that being the digital version of the old factories and industrial uses in the past. Data centers technically should be located in already industrial use areas. The problem with that is they're normally in proximity to underserved communities.
So I just talk about that. We I feel like throughout the Follow the Line series, we talked about ways that city government and state government have rezoned areas and underserved communities in order to make way for multi-purpose buildings, for buildings that shouldn't really be in a residential zone. Can you talk to that?
Data centers usually um, are going to zones that are already zoned as industrial uses. Second, they will go where the land is the cheapest. So if you think about what's happening with data centers now, that is the trend that you're really starting to see. So if you think about it from New Orleans perspective, um, those issues around looking at the map where the industrial zones are, and that's not the case with this one. This one is sitting right off the interstate, off of Reed, and which is perplexing to be honest with you, because maybe it's an issue of land cost. I don't know, but um, I
Why is it
use the
perplexing?
concept of, well, just because of the location. That's a prime redevelopment zone in New Orleans East, you know, where it should be situated for something else, to be honest with you, versus a data center. So it's a little bit perplexing that it would be at that location, right? If it was further out, you know, removed to an industrial zone, that's a story because it's been industrial for a while. So that is somewhat perplexing because it's not about jobs, because I do work with data centers as well. This is not about jobs because, again, 30, maybe 50 jobs. So it's really interesting. And data centers are also challenging in tough weather terrains where you would have storms and things of that nature. So that's also interesting to see that. But in the final analysis, you're going to need data centers. The question is where, because you're going to be behind the economic sort of uh, uh, competition if you don't have them, because data centers are really the cloud. You know, they're not. It's not like the cloud in the sky. They're really the basis for the new sort of work around, growing our economies. But the question is, why that location?
Hmm. So, talk about the locations that we always see. You mentioned underrepresented communities and underserved communities, rather, and the fact that a lot of them are chosen for construction like this. You know, whether it's power plants, whether it's chemical plants, industrial plants, and now data centers. Can you talk about the history to that?
Yeah, because if you think about it, data centers are actually digital versions of factories. And if in the past, most of the areas where, in particular, low income individuals like African Americans were living, their zoning allowed for industrial uses to be in proximity to residential. It's always been the fight around environmental justice. So if data centers, and Memphis is going through this right now, Memphis is a really good case study to look at as well. If in the past zoning zoning was established around industrial in proximity to um, um, underserved African Americans, then it's already on the books to go there because it's already zoned, if that makes sense.
What's the impact negatively on the community that lives across the street from it?
Actually, most of it is about the grid, the power grid, and its consumption of power in order to function. What usually happens is there's usually an increase in utility costs that is usually passed on to the customer, which are already experiencing high costs to basically live day to day. So they will create, more power consumption, more water use, and a real strain on the grid, but also potentially having the impact of rising fees to do so.